Good morning, everybody. Always a pleasure to spend some time with you on Bringing It Home with BARP. I'm Belle Holder, and I hope you guys are having a marvelous Monday. Wishing you the best and a wonderful and safe week ahead. As always, there are exciting things happening with BARP. I'm going to remind everybody that if you're 40 years old, then you are eligible to become a member of BARP. And I always say that BARP means different things to different people. So for our younger members who are coming in at 40 plus, of course, for you, it means starting as early as possible to prepare for your retirement, because what you want to focus on is maintaining your quality of life. So important. And I can't say this enough. If someone had told me the things I know now when I had first started out in the workforce, you know, my financials would look so much better. So anybody that I can share this wonderful information with and tell you the earlier you start, the better. In terms of preparing for your retirement, you definitely want to do that. There's so many advantages to being a BARP member. So if you are 40 plus, give yourself the gift of BARP and sign up for your membership. You can head on down to the BARP headquarters at Merview House, open Monday to Friday from 8:30 until 3 p.m. to serve you. You walk in and you walk out with your BARP card in hand. Now listen up, because we have a Members Fest coming up this weekend. Mark it on your calendar. This coming Saturday, July the 2nd, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. at Sky Mall. You can come on down. It's the BARP Members Fest, the Cropover edition. And why is it the Cropover edition? Because you have the opportunity to win tickets to any of the tents that's happening out there. And we also have a fantastic giveaway. Listen to this one. So we have, when you come down to the BARP Fest on Saturday at Sky Mall, you can have the opportunity to win one of 2 food dehydrators. BARP is adding a healthy addition to your kitchen and your food prep. Dehydration food tastes great. Using a food dehydrator to remove moisture from food items such as fruits, vegetables, and meats, what it does is it creates naturally concentrated, rich, and delicious tasting food. Not only that, but when you're making food yourself, you know the quality of the freshness of your produce. So you're using, unlike when you're eating dehydrated food that you purchase at the grocery store, you know exactly what you are getting. So whether you want to make fruit roll-ups for your children, you know, or activate some nuts, or make a batch of veggie chips, food dehydrators provide you the flexibility to do all of that. Plus, of course, you have the option to run the machine for a period of hours or over a number of days. So if you didn't even realize that you needed a food dehydrator in your life, I am telling you. And so, you know what? It's only limited by your own imagination. So here are some ideas. You can make dehydrated fruit roll-ups, which is sure to be an absolute hit with the kids. You can simply blend fruit and even some yogurt and dehydrate it and roll it up. And you can also dehydrate grapes and blueberries, strawberries, bananas, pineapples, kiwi, Bajan cherries, mangoes, of course, and even vegetables. So you can dehydrate your beetroot, carrot, and those kinds of things, even potatoes, and even meats. If you're one of those people who likes beef jerky, you can do that as well. And if you are guilty, kind of like I am a little bit sometimes, of throwing out too much of your food, then you definitely can use a food dehydrator. So you have the opportunity to win a food dehydrator, or you can get tickets to Stray Cats Calypso Tent, the big show, which is happening at Sea Rocks Domes. All Stars is happening at LESC, or you can head on down to House of Soca if you haven't gone up to a tent yet, which I think is one of the safer things to do this cropover season. Well, you can win tickets on Saturday when you attend the BARP Members Fest. And guess what? BARP members get triple Massey points. So if you're thinking about going grocery shopping on Saturday at Sky Mall, then just come on over to BARP. We're going to be located at the kiosk just outside the $3 store and right by Payless Shoes. You can come on down, sign up for your BARP membership or renew your BARP membership, get your card in hand, and then go get your groceries and get triple Massey points. So we are looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. But you know what? This is a really important time of year. Of course, it's hurricane season. It's already started. We're already hearing about a system possibly coming. I understand there's going to be up to possibly 21 named storms this season. And I want everybody to remember that we're going to be experiencing hurricane season while we're still navigating the challenges of a pandemic. So we can't underscore that enough. You want to think about proper water storage. Remember to get your chlorine tablets. Most people usually forget that. You want to make sure that you are safeguarding all of your important documents. Just a big Ziploc bag can do it to make sure that your documents stay dry. And you know, for those people who may have health issues, even if you're just taking vitamins, you want to make sure that you secure your medication by getting. So that's something really important that we want to talk more about. So this morning we have the pleasure of chatting with Dr. Lynda Williams. She's the president of the Bdos Association of Medical Practitioners. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to start our conversation with Dr. Williams right after this.
Get ready for the BARP Members Fest Cropover Edition. Save the date, Saturday, July 2nd, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Sky Mall, Haggett Hall. Sign up on the spot, renew your BARP membership, and win prizes too. Get BARP certified with health benefits, lowest home insurance rates, life benefit insurance, island-wide discounts, free classes and seminars, and so much more. All you have to be is age 40 plus. Call 538-2277 for more info and check BARP's social media for details. Join us at Sky Mall, Haggett Hall, Saturday, July 2nd, between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. for the BARP Members Fest Cropover Edition.
All right, everybody, this is Belle Holder, and you're listening to Bringing It Home with BARP. On the line with us, we have Dr. Lynda Williams. She's the president of BAMP. Good morning to you, Dr. Williams.
Good morning, Belle, and thank you for inviting me to the program.
Thank you so much. I know that you have had a lot on your plate over the last 2 years and still going. So we really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you. What has it been like from your perspective as the president of BAMP navigating the pandemic for the last 2 years?
Well, we doctors, we're on the front line, the front line of this pandemic. I mean, people come to us, you know, with minor illnesses, and we have to negotiate all of the difficulties of people who are potentially infected with COVID. And so that's why we needed to be a strong voice, a consistent voice, because we see the realities of people who are not only affected in the short term, but also in the long term by COVID's effects. And we are seeing more and more of those long-term effects now. And so that's why we want everybody to know it's not just a cold or a flu. It really is a very different type of disease, and it affects every organ system. And we're learning more and more about it every day. There's a steep learning curve for all of us in the medical profession. And so we had to help each other come to grips with what was happening very quickly. And that's the reason why I came into being president at this time, so that I could assist with that.
I know that you've also been very vocal, because you have made no apologies in saying, you know what, my focus is a national focus and looking after the people of Barbados. So you're not always going to agree with policy, but you would make sure that you're speaking based on your professional position. We are in the midst of crop over season. It's hurricane season. We're still navigating the pandemic. I don't know what's going through your mind when you wake up in the morning, because, you know, I mean, people have felt, I think a lot of people have felt caged for the last 2 years, and maybe people want to free up a little bit. For me, there are certain things I will do and certain things I'm still a little bit, have a little bit of PTSD around certain activities. So what is your professional view? Know that we are navigating so many things. You know, people want to get out, they want to free up. It's crop over, it's hurricane season, still navigating COVID-19.
Well, you know, I understand the fatigue. We feel it too, because obviously we've been dealing with it at that very frontline granular level, and we are also mentally and physically fatigued as well. But the thing that we have to remember is that the way respiratory pandemics go, and when I say respiratory, I mean viral respiratory illnesses, is that it waxes and wanes. And yes, we have more people who are having the vaccine, who are protected against severe illness, but the vaccine doesn't stop you from getting COVID. You can get it, but it's just that you will not get as negative an outcome as if you were unvaccinated. I know there are lots of people who don't agree with that, but that is a scientific fact that has been shown over and over again. And so that's why we say we must remember as Barbadians that we are not in the same position as some other Western developed countries where the vaccination rates are a lot higher. And even within those countries, they still are seeing spikes of cases, but the effects are a lot less in terms of hospitalizations and death because of their vaccination rate. We still have a vulnerable population. We still have an elderly population. We still have very vulnerable people within our population. We live in homes that have far greater numbers of people living in the home than in other countries. And so it is not right for us to just say, well, everyone else in the world is free to do as they want. We still have to exercise judgment, caution, and just stick to the things that Barbadians did really well for the last few years, which is, wear masks when appropriate, wash your hands, sanitize, exercise good hygiene, and social distance when you're in indoor settings. I mean, these are the things that have kept us safe and that will continue to keep us safe. And of course, along with vaccination, we can only encourage it because it decreases the number of people in the population who are vulnerable to having severe outcomes. And vaccination even reduces long COVID. So,
right.
yeah.
So, Dr. Williams, people will say, man, listen, I tired hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And where I want to link this to hurricane season too, because I feel like the same preparation messages come every year. And we as Asians, we do the same thing. We'll wait until, oh yeah, I hear a system is coming. Let me run to the supermarket and buy some crackers and some corned beef and some batteries. But I think we really need to stress this morning that it's different now. Like, it's hurricane season while you're still navigating COVID. What should we be approaching differently when we think about our hurricane survival kit, let's say? Should we have PPE in our survival kit?
Well, absolutely. Well, let's just talk about that hurricane survival kit. I like to go beyond a survival kit because, as you say, Barbadians like to, let me get 2 corned beef and a bottle of water, and I'm ready for a hurricane. If you've never seen the devastation after a hurricane, or you've lived in a time post, you weren't alive during Hurricane Janet, and you think that Hurricane Elsa last year was a big deal, well, I have news for you, right? It's really a lot worse than that. And so I like to go beyond just, picking up a few things and putting them there. You have to have a hurricane preparedness plan, what you're going to do before, during, and after. For your family, well, here's what happens if this happens. And it's good to write it out or to sit down as a family and agree. This person is responsible for this person is responsible for that, this person will have this key, that key, if we're going to get back into our house, if it's still standing, and people have to have a preparedness plan also for their health. So a health preparedness plan is really, really important. And you write it out, you put it so that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. One of the first things we tell everybody is food and water. And you were talking about a dehydrator earlier on. That's an excellent thing to have for a hurricane because a food dehydrator, for example, can help you to preserve a lot more food. But we must have the appropriate food and water. And we don't want to go with the high salt things. As you said, if you have a dehydrator, you can control what it is you're storing. But even if you don't, you can buy, you don't want to go and buy a whole set of high salt foods when you know that you are not supposed to consume a lot of salt because you have high blood pressure or some other.
It's limited.
Exactly. So you have to use the foods even in the midst of a hurricane that are suitable for you. And also, we have to have enough water. Because without those two things, no matter what other your health condition is, you will fail. So 2 gallons per person per day is something that you have to set to look at. And then we talk about medication. Hurricane Maria hit.
I really want us
Yeah.
to focus in on the medication situation. So we're going to take a quick break for this message from BARP and continue with Dr. Williams, focusing on what you should be doing when it comes to your medication during the hurricane season. We'll be right back.
Being a card-carrying BARP member has significant benefits. Hundreds of discounts at our various partners island-wide. BARP members receive representation on issues relevant to the quality of life of older persons. A $5,000 life benefit payable to a named beneficiary. All BARP members under the age of 60 are eligible to join BARP's group health insurance plan. Members earn triple points at Massey stores when BARP and Massey cards are linked. BARP's fully accessible offices on the South Coast are open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Stop by and renew your membership or join the BARP family today. BARP's friendly and knowledgeable staff is standing by to serve you. Call 538-2277 or connect online at www.barpbb.com.
BARP, born active and sourceful proud.
All right, Dr. Williams. So before the break, you started to talk to us about what we need to be doing with medication during the hurricane season. I've heard people say you need to have at least 3 months medication on hand. But the first thing that came to my mind was, that medication has an expiry date. So
Yeah,
what should people be doing?
Yeah, I've not heard 3 months. We usually say 3 weeks medication. Or no, not 3 months. 3 weeks medication on hand at least. If you can have more, well then that's fine. But we don't want you to make a run on the pharmacy to let's share it. Let's everybody get some. You understand? But we have to have at least 3 weeks medication on hand in a hurricane. And the other thing is you have to look at how your medication is stored. Because if you're in a situation where there's a lot of rain, etc., I know lots of people who get their medication and they throw away the containers. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your medication in appropriate waterproof containers or in the blister packs. So if you're accustomed to putting them out and taking them out of the thing and putting them in a pill box, etc., you might not want to do that because you want your medication to be in something that's waterproof. And you're also going to then turn around and put that medication inside Ziploc bags, which is going in your grab bag. So each person in the family has to have a grab bag that has in some food, some medication, and so on. And not only your prescription medication, but then you need to have your emergency non-prescription medications as well. For example, you might want to take some aspirin, some ibuprofen, something for headache, plasters, bandages, something to clean a wound with.
Right, grab that kind of thing.
Right, bandages, etc. Create bandages and maybe a sling. Even if you're not taking it for yourself, you divide up these things among the family and you give some to each member of the family. Well, along with your medication, if you're a diabetic, I'd want to make this point very, very clear. Diabetics in Hurricane Maria, in Puerto Rico, they suffered greatly by the prolonged loss of electricity. Because, of course, if you're taking insulin, this is a problem. So for diabetics, you have to start looking at, getting a flask, a large enough flask that can hold some insulin with ice. There have been people who got generators for that purpose of making sure that they could have a small fridge going in which to keep their medication. And for diabetics especially, you need to look at that. Even if you lose electricity or you lose cool for a day, that could affect your entire insulin supply, because if it's outside of the fridge for the insulins that have to be refrigerated, if they're outside of the fridge for more than a half an hour, an hour, then they lose their effectiveness. So we really want you to store that insulin in ice in a container and have that in your grab bag as well.
Right.
Along with that, you need a list of your medication. So you need it written out, and you need a list of your allergies. And one of the things I learned from the people who were in Tortola was that they put those plastic bands, like what you get for a fete or a party, onto each family member's hand. stating their name, their age, their date of birth, their allergies, who their doctor was, who their dentist is. You say, well, why dentist? Well, just think worst case scenario, okay? Who their doctor, who their dentist is, and what medications they were on first.
So Dr. Williams, I know you just skipped over that because maybe you don't want to make people uncomfortable, but sometimes I feel like we need to tell people exactly what it is. And Dr. Williams mentioned in the dentist because in the absolute unfortunate situation, right, where a body has to be identified, or is unidentifiable, you can be identified by your dental records, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So thanks, Belle, for making it plain. I was trying to be subtle, but yes, you need to make it plain.
Sometimes you can't.
And that's what. Yeah, and that's why we people put those on their wrist so that in the case that you're separated from loved ones, the kids would have, who to call, a cell phone number, that kind of thing, their allergies, etc. So that in the event, because there's chaos sometimes in the immediate post-hurricane period, and if you got separated, you would know, well, this child can't have these foods, can't have this medication, etc., etc. And it was all written and put on those wristbands. And I thought that was a brilliant idea in terms of how to prepare.
Interestingly enough, some of the things that you listed off that should be in the emergency, the hurricane preparedness kit, etc., in addition to the food and the water and the medical stuff that you listed, really honestly sounds to me like you should kind of have that stuff on hand on a daily basis anyways. And then you're just topping it up for hurricane season. That's honestly what I'm hearing from you.
Right, but within the grab bag, you're going to have some more things. You're going to have matches in a Ziploc bag. You're going to have light sources, whether they're solar. You're going to have your water purification tablet. You're going to have a bottle that can, probably an expandable bottle that you can use to contain additional water in. You're going to have you're going to have batteries if you're having a battery operated radio and a small transistor. So the grab bag is basically for each person something that, should you have to move to a shelter, you're going to pick that up and go. Now, in this pandemic season, you also have to have PPE. You have to have masks, and you have to have change of masks. So you can't just have one mask that you're going to wear for days and days, okay? And you're going to have to, again, seal them, put them in a waterproof container. And you're also going to have hand sanitizer, things like, alcohol or alcohol sanitizing gel with at least 70% alcohol, and disinfectant wipes, small packs, large packs for each member of the family, so that, again, should you get separated for whatever reason, you are able to wipe things down and to keep them clean and so forth. Just a little soap powder makes a huge difference.
Do we need to have at-home COVID testing kits?
I hadn't really considered that, but I think it wouldn't be a bad thing if you want to protect yourself in a shelter, for example, because there definitely will be mixing within the shelter. And as I said, you can only be responsible for your space. If somebody becomes ill, then I guess you would be able to test with a rapid test. But one thing I will say is that the rapid test might not be the be all and end all, particularly with Omicron. We have found that, sometimes people are testing and they're negative, and then they turned out to be positive later on. So if you're going to have some tests, make sure you don't just buy one.
Right.
Because you may need to test more than one.
All right, cool. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Lynda Williams, who's the president of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners. We'll be right back on Bringing It Home with BARP.
Get ready for the BARP Members Fest Cropover Edition. Save the date, Saturday, July 2nd, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Sky Mall, Haggett Hall. Sign up on the spot, renew your BARP membership, and win prizes too. Get BARP certified with health benefits, lowest home insurance rates, life benefit insurance, island-wide discounts, free classes and seminars, and so much more. All you have to be is age 40 plus. Call 538-2277 for more info and check BARP's social media for details. Join us at Sky Mall, Haggett Hall, Saturday, July 2nd, between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. for the BARP Members Fest Cropover Edition.
All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm Belle Holder, and you're listening to Bringing It Home with BARP. We have on the line with us Dr. Lynda Williams, who is the president of BAMP. And we were talking about really when it comes to your health, making sure that you are as prepared as you possibly can be for this hurricane season, knowing that we're still doing so and navigating it during the COVID-19 pandemic. What is the most important thing, Dr. Williams, that you want to make sure you leave Barbadians with this morning? If they don't listen to anything else, what's the one thing you want to make sure and say, listen, pay attention to this particular thing. This is what you need to do today.
Make sure you have a plan. Do it today. Write down the essential things that you need. If you have equipment that you rely on, if you have hearing aids, do you need extra batteries? If you have some other form of equipment or device like a CPAP machine, how are you going to transport that with you should you have to leave your place? How are you going to power it with electricity? Everyone needs to know where they will go should they have to evacuate or get separated for any reason. And you also have to plan as a family, right, how you are going to share your resources in those grab bags. And that grab bag should be a waterproof bag. You should also have quick drying shirts and a few changes of clothes, so that should you have to leave your home. No one wants to leave their home. And that, I think, is something that Barbadians don't think of. You think a hurricane is coming, a storm is coming, you're going to rush out and fill up that fridge. And so that's not what you want. Because you don't want to have a lot of food that's then going to turn and spoil on you. You want to have a situation where, should I have to leave, this is where things are. And all the important documents have to go with you. Your medical health needs to be written down. What you have had, what your operations were, what your dietary requirements are, what your medical allergies are, important things about your social history, whether you drink alcohol, those kinds of things you need to put on a piece of paper and put that in a waterproof, seal it off and put it in your grab bag, so that if you are unable to speak for yourself, someone will be able to get a history about you.
If the island is impacted, everything gets some level of impact, right? And so emergency services will probably have impact as well. And people who work in emergency services are people with families as well. And I really want us to think about that. They're not just men and women in uniform. And so in the event that, we have emergency services impacted, you might be living in a situation where an ambulance can't get to your street because of fallen trees, etc. What do we do in a case like that? In a real situation, nobody, let's say, and I actually believe this to be true for most Barbadian households, that probably nobody in the house knows CPR.
Yeah.
Do you recommend? And is that
true? So
Barbadian
that is true. Right. That is true. Most people do not know CPR. But here's where the community spirit needs to revive. One thing I learned from talking to those who were in Tortola, for seeing Dominica after the hurricane, for going into Grenada after Ivan, is that it is the community working together that rebuilds after a hurricane. It's not me, myself, and I, and my family and I. It has to be community cooperation.
Dr. Williams, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on Bringing It Home with BARP.
You're welcome. And as a BARP member, I'm very happy to be here and to participate in this program.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Remember, I'll see you on Saturday. We're going to be at Sky Mall from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. located in the kiosk just outside of the $3 store, and Payless shoes. We'll see you there. Wonderful opportunities to win. Remember, whatever you do, guys, just be safe out there. I'm Belle Holder, and this has been Bringing It Home with BARP. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
BARP, bold, active, resourceful, proud.